Let me tell a story that has all shades of life. There's joy and grief and laughter, bonhomie and strife. Every story teaches a nice little lesson. Along with the wisdom, you will also have fun. Let me tell a story that has all shades of life. There's joy and grief and laughter, bonhomie and strife. Every story teaches a nice little lesson. Along with the wisdom, you will also have fun. Hi there. Hello everyone. I hope you've all been enjoying the magical journey that we've all been undertaking this past week. Now, today we are almost at the end of this journey with the fifth and the final story of this series. And as always, I hope today's story will also enthrall you and give you so much entertainment, and I hope that you will all enjoy it to its fullest. Now, I was thinking, what story should I take for today? Okay, we've been through a lot of different magical creatures. We've taken stories from different lands. We've taken stories from Europe, the fairy tales from Europe. We've taken stories from Persia as a part of the Arabian Nights. Stories of kings of Persia, the caliphs and everything. We've taken Indian mythology too. So I was thinking, what would be the best story to do today? But then I realized, being a Harry Potter fan myself, how could a magical story series be complete without a reference to Harry Potter and his magical world? I am sure a lot of you Harry Potter fans out there would also be thinking same, right? So after thinking a lot, I decided that today we are going to be reading an extract, one of my favorite parts from the entire series of Harry Potter books. Okay, so let us just jump right into the world of witchcraft and wizardry. Are you ready? Now, just to give a small background for those who've not been following the Harry Potter franchise very keenly till now. Harry, Ron and Hermione are three best friends who get to know each other and become close friends right from the moment they step inside the Hogwarts Express, a train which takes them to the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Now, while Ron he's been born and brought up in a wizarding family, and he's always known that he's a wizard. Harry and Hermione, for both of them, it comes as a pleasant surprise. So when in their first year, when they enter Hogwarts, everything is wondrous to both of them. But both are pretty smart and intelligent. All the three, for that matter, are pretty smart and intelligent students, and soon they get well settled. And in fact, Hermione, she becomes quite popular with her brilliance. Harry, of course, he discovers to his and everybody's great joy that he is awesome at the wizarding game Quidditch, and he goes on to become the youngest seeker in almost a century. Now, while they're enjoying their first year at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Harry, Ron and Hermione come across some strange things that seem to be going on. Somehow, all the three of them have a knack of finding themselves in a place where trouble is happening each and every time. So somehow the three of them, they find out that there is something precious hidden inside Hogwarts, and that there is someone who is trying to steal that precious thing. So, being the adventure seeking trio that they are, they decide to go and thwart the attempts of this person who's trying to steal that thing. They decide to do that by themselves. So let us see how they reach the place or find out the place where this precious thing is hidden. Seeing the open door somehow seemed to impress upon all three of them what was facing them. Underneath the cloak, the invisibility cloak that belongs to Harry, Harry turned to the other two. "If you want to go back, I won't blame you," he said. "You can take the cloak. I won't need it now." "Don't be stupid," said Ron. "We are coming," said Hermione. Harry pushed the door open. As the door creaked, a low, rumbling growl met their ears. All three of the dogs' noses sniffed madly in their direction, even though it could not see them. Do you know what is the name of this dog? It was called Fluffy. And yeah, the name seems very cute, but this was a three-headed monster which was guarding the trapdoor which Harry, Ron and Hermione were trying to pass through. "What's that at its feet?" Hermione whispered. "Looks like a heart," said Ron. "Snape must have left it there." "It must wake up the moment you stop playing," said Harry. Well, here goes." He put Hagrid's flute to his lips and blew. It wasn't really a tune, but from the first note, the beast's eyes began to droop. Harry hardly drew breath. Slowly, the dog's growls ceased. It tottered on its paws and fell to its knees. Then it slumped to the ground, fast asleep. "Keep playing," Ron warned Harry as they slipped out of the cloak and crept towards the trapdoor. They could feel the dog's hot, smelly breath as they approached the giant heads. "I think we will be able to pull the door open," said Ron, peering over the dog's back. "Want to go first, Hermione?" "No, I don't." "All right." Ron gritted his teeth and stepped carefully over the dog's legs. He bent and pulled the ring of the trapdoor, which swung up and opened. "What can you see?" Hermione said anxiously. "Nothing, just black. There's no way of climbing down. We'll just have to drop." Harry, who was still playing the flute, waved at Ron to get his attention and pointed at himself. "You want to go first?" "Are you sure?" said Ron. "I don't know how deep this goes. Give the flute to Hermione so she can keep him asleep." Harry handed the flute over. In the a few seconds' silence, the dog growled and twitched. But the moment Hermione began to play, it fell back into its deep sleep. Harry climbed over it and looked down through the trapdoor. There was no sign of the bottom. He lowered himself through the hole until he was hanging on by his fingertips. Then he looked up at Ron and said, "If anything happens to me, don't follow. Go straight to the owlery and send Hedwig to Dumbledore, right?" Hedwig, as many of you might already know, was Harry's pet owl, and Dumbledore, of course, was the great principal of the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. "Right," said Ron. "See you in a minute, I hope." And Harry let go. Cool, damp air rushed past him as he fell down, and flop. With a funny, muffled sort of thump, he landed on something soft. He sat up and felt around, his eyes not used to the gloom. It felt as though he was sitting on some sort of plant. "It's okay," he called up to the light, the size of a postage stamp, which was the open trapdoor. "It's a soft landing. You can jump." Ron followed straight away. He landed sprawled next to Harry. "What's this stuff?" were his first words. "Dunno. Some sort of plant thing. I suppose it's here to break the fall. Come on, Hermione." The distant music stopped. There was a loud bark from the dog, but Hermione had already jumped. She landed on Harry's other side. "We must be miles under the school," she said. "Lucky this plant thing's here, really," said Ron. "Lucky!" shrieked Hermione. "Look at you both!" She leapt up and struggled towards a damp wall. She had to struggle because the moment she had landed, the plant had started to twist snake-like tendrils around her ankles. As for Harry and Ron, their legs had already been bound tightly in long creepers without their noticing. Hermione had managed to free herself before the plant got a firm grip on her. Now she watched in horror as the two boys fought to pull the plant off them. But the more they strained against it, the tighter and faster the plant wound around them. "Stop moving!" Hermione ordered them. "I know what this is. It's Devil's Snare." "Oh, I'm so glad we know what it's called. That's a great help," snarled Ron, leaning back, trying to stop the plant curling around his neck. "Shut up! I'm trying to remember how to kill it," said Hermione. "Well, hurry up! I can't breathe," Harry gasped, wrestling with it as it curled around his chest. "Devil's Snare! Devil's Snare! What did Professor Sprout say? It lights the dark and the damp. So light a fire!" Harry choked. "Yes, of course. But there's no wood," Hermione cried, wringing her hands. "Have you gone mad?" Ron bellowed. "Are you a witch or not?" "Oh, right," said Hermione, and she whipped out her wand and she waved it, muttering something, and sent a jet of small bluebell flames on the plant. In a matter of seconds, the two boys felt it loosening its grip as it cringed away from the light and warmth. Wriggling and flailing, it unraveled itself from their bodies and they were able to pull free. Lucky you pay attention in herbology, Hermione, said Harry as he joined her by the wall, wiping sweat off his face. Yeah, said Ron. And lucky Harry doesn't lose his head in a crisis. This'll would, honestly. This way, said Harry, pointing down a stone passageway which was the only way on. All they could hear, apart from their footsteps, was the gentle drip of water trickling down the walls. The passageway sloped downwards, and Harry was reminded of Gringotts. Now, Gringotts was the wizarding bank to which Harry had paid a visit right before joining Hogwarts. Can you hear something? Ron whispered. Harry listened. A soft rustling and clinking seemed to be coming from up ahead. Do you think it's a ghost? I don't know. Sounds like wings to me. There's light ahead. I can see something moving. They reached the end of the passageway, and before them, a brilliantly lit chamber, its ceiling arcing high above them. It was full of small, jewel-bright birds, fluttering and tumbling all around the room. On the opposite side of the chamber was a heavy wooden door. Do you think they will attack us if we try to cross the room? Said Ron. Probably, said Harry. They don't look very vicious, but I suppose if they all swoop down at once, well, there's nothing for it. I'll run. He took a deep breath, covered his face with his arms, and sprinted across the room. He expected to feel sharp beaks and claws staring at him at any second, but nothing happened. He reached the door untouched. He pulled the handle, but it was locked. The other two followed him. They tugged and heaved at the door, but it wouldn't budge, not even when Hermione tried her Alohomora charm. Now what? Said Ron. These birds, they can't be here just for decoration, said Hermione. They watched the birds soaring overhead, glittering. Glittering? They're not birds, Harry said suddenly. They're keys, winged keys. Look carefully. So that must mean he looked around the chamber while the other two squinted up at the flock of keys. Yes, look, broomsticks. We've got to catch the key to the door. But there are hundreds of them. Ron examined the lock on the door. We are looking for a big, old-fashioned one, probably silver, like the handle. They seized a broomstick each and kicked off into the air, soaring into the midst of the cloud of keys. They grabbed and snatched, but the bewitched keys darted and dived so quickly that it was almost impossible to catch one. Not for nothing though, was Harry the youngest seeker in a century. He had a knack of spotting things others didn't. After a minute of weaving about through the whirl of rainbow feathers, he noticed a large silver key that had a bent wing, as if it had already been caught and stuffed roughly into the keyhole. That one, he called out to the others. That big one, there. No, there. With the bright blue wings, yeah. The feathers are all crumpled up on one side. Ron went speeding in the direction that Harry was pointing, crashed into the ceiling, and nearly fell off his broom. We've got to close in on it, Harry called, not taking his eyes off the key with the damaged wing. Ron, you come at it from above. Hermione, stay below and stop it going down. I'll try and catch it. Right now! Ron dived, Hermione rocketed upwards, and the key dodged them both, and Harry streaked after it. It sped towards the wall. Harry leant forward and with a nasty crunching noise pinned it against the stone with one hand. Ron and Hermione cheered, and their cheers echoed across the high chamber. They landed quickly, and Harry ran to the door, the key struggling in his hand. He rammed it into the lock and turned, and it worked. The moment the lock had clicked open, the key took flight again, looking very battered now that it had been caught twice. Ready? Harry asked the other two, his hand on the door handle. They nodded. He pulled the door open. The next chamber was so dark they couldn't see anything at all. But as they stepped into it, light suddenly flooded the room to reveal an astonishing sight. They were standing on the edge of a huge chessboard. Behind the black chessmen, which were all taller than they were and carved from what looked like black stone. Facing them, way across the chamber, were the white pieces. Harry, Ron and Hermione shivered slightly. The towering white chessmen had no faces. Now what do we do? Harry whispered. It's obvious, isn't it? Said Ron. We've got to play our way across the room. Behind the white pieces, they could see another door. How? Said Hermione nervously. I think, said Ron, we are going to have to be the chessmen. He walked up to a black knight and put his hand out to touch the knight's horse. At once, the stone sprang to life. The horse pawed the ground, and the knight turned his helmeted head to look down at Ron. Do we have to join you to get across? The Black Knight nodded. Ron turned to the other two. This wants thinking about, he said. I suppose we've got to take the place of the three of the black pieces. Harry and Hermione stayed quiet, watching Ron think. Finally, he said, Now, don't be offended or anything, but neither of you are that good at chess. We are not offended, said Harry quickly. Just tell us what to do. Well, Harry, you take the place of that bishop, and Hermione, you go there instead of that castle. What about you? I'm going to be a knight, said Ron. The chessmen seemed to have been listening, because at these words, a knight, a bishop, and a castle turned their backs on the white pieces and walked off the board, leaving 3 empty squares, which Harry, Ron, and Hermione took. White always plays first in the chess, said Ron, peering across the board. Yes, look. A white pawn had moved forward 2 squares. Ron started to direct the black pieces. They moved silently wherever he sent them. Harry's knees were trembling. What if they lost? Harry moved diagonally 4 squares to the right. Their first real shock came when their other knight was taken. The white queen smashed him to the floor and dragged him off the board, where he lay quite still, face down. Had to let that happen, said Ron, looking shaken. leaves you free to take that bishop. Hermione, go on. Every time one of their men was lost, the white pieces showed no mercy. Soon there was a huddle of limp black players slumped along the wall. Twice, Ron only just noticed in time that Harry and Hermione were in danger. He himself darted around the board, taking almost as many white pieces as they had lost black ones. When nearly there, he muttered suddenly, "Let me think, let me think." The White Queen turned her blank face towards him. "Yes," said Ron softly. "It's the only way. I've got to be taken." "No!" Harry and Hermione shouted. "That's chess," snapped Ron. "You've got to make some sacrifices. I'll make my move and she'll take me. That leaves you free to checkmate the king, Harry. But do you want to stop Snape or not?" "Ron, look, if you don't hurry up, he'll already have the stone." There was nothing else for it. "Ready?" Ron called, his face pale but determined. "Here I go. Now, don't hang around once you've won." He stepped forward and the White Queen pounced. She struck Ron hard around the head with her stone arm and he crashed to the floor. Hermione screamed but stayed on her square. The White Queen dragged Ron to one side. He looked as if he'd been knocked out. Shaking, Harry moved 3 spaces to the left. The White King took off his crown and threw it at Harry's feet. They had won. The chessmen parted and bowed, leaving the door ahead clear. With one last desperate look back at Ron, Harry and Hermione charged through the door and up the next passageway. "What if he'll be all right," said Harry, trying to convince himself. "What do you reckon's next?" And children, in this way, the trio of Harry, Ron and Hermione, they pass one hurdle after the other to finally go and reach the place where that precious thing, and of course I'm talking about the Philosopher's Stone, is hidden. I think we'll stop this extract reading here for now, and I hope you all enjoyed reading the story, enjoyed the way this wonderful magical world has been described, and I wish with all my heart that you all continue to have a lot of magical moments in your life. So with that, take care, my dear friends. See you in another series. Until then, bye bye.